This video is brought to you by Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist, my new book, which is a comprehensive guide to all aspects of music theory necessary for playing rock guitar. From blues to the cycle of fifths, from understanding and using modes to choosing the right notes for a melodic solo, from pentatonic scales to chord construction and keys. It's all covered in a clear and concise manner. With accompanying video demonstrations, jam tracks and tabs, you'll learn to use the knowledge you gain in accessible ways that make sense for less than the cost of a few guitar lessons. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Being Tuesday, we're doing a top 5 list, and you've probably already seen the thumbnail and video title. Well, it's hard to imagine how you clicked on the video if you haven't seen those. So you know what I'm going to be talking about today. A few weeks ago I did a rather sort of light-hearted, I thought, tongue-in-cheek video about 5 ways the old days were better. And most people kind of took it in the slightly Monty Python-esque for Yorkshireman way that it was intended, but one or two people got a bit bent out of shape in the comments, and I was, not for the first time it has to be said, referred to as a bit of a dinosaur. Well, you know what. Yeah, anyway, but in the interest of balance, I thought I'd do a video today to balance things out, in the interest of balance, as you say. Basically, I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why I wouldn't want to go back to the old days, the late 70s through the 80s and so on. Life is, especially for a guitar player, is immeasurably better now, despite all of the misty-eyed, rose-tinted reminiscences that I mentioned in the previous video, which I'll link to down in the description. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. 5 ways that the world has changed for the better if you're a guitar player, starting with...
Great guitars have never been cheaper.
Yeah, it's never been easier to get a pro-quality instrument for peanuts, frankly. I don't know if you saw the video I did... well, it's a while ago now, maybe a couple of weeks ago, where I was comparing a Les Paul copy that cost £80 in 1980. You can see it on the wall there, that satellite Les Paul copy, comparing it with a guitar which, when adjusted for inflation, here it is, one of these things, a Harley Benton SC550, when adjusted for inflation, one of these in 2024 will cost you the same proportion of your disposable income as one of those from back in 1980. This is, to all intents and purposes, and I know people are going to shout at me in the comments because Harley Benton have their haters, but you could gig with this guitar, you could do a professional gig with this guitar. Harley Benton guitars, well, there's one pro guitarist with a Fleetwood Mac tribute band, Scott Poley, I believe he's called, who's done a stadium tour of the States and Europe using a Harley Benton Strat copy. They are made of much more noble materials than the plywood, bubblegum and snot that guitars like that were made of back in the day. And okay, they may have a few issues in terms of the final setup and a bit of fit and finish and stuff like that, but they've got good bones and they are pro quality instruments, and as I say, they're affordable to pretty much anyone that wants one, really. As I say, this guitar costs the same as that guitar did back in the day when adjusted for inflation, and it's never been easier to get a pro quality instrument for peanuts, really. What's not to love about that? Next.
Every spare bedroom is a pro recording studio.
Yes, indeed. Similarly, it's never been cheaper and easier to produce professional quality, well, I'm not even going to call them demos, professional quality albums in a space like this. Admittedly, if you're going to be miking up live drums, then that might be an issue. But if you are if you're a guitarist, which is what we're talking about here, if you're looking to write and record your own music, well, back in the 80s and I guess from the late 70s through to the 90s, you were looking at cassette tape quality, sound quality, with the Fostex or Tascam cassette-based 4-track recorders that you would have to bounce tracks to and degrade the quality with each particular, kind of bounce tracks 1, 2 and 3 onto track 4, so you've got freed up some other space to record onto, and every time you did that you lost quality. And your drum sounds were probably Casio keyboard hand claps or something like that, just something to give it a bit of rhythm. Or perhaps you had some rudimentary Boss Dr. Rhythm style drum box, but it sounded like what it was. It was an outline sketch, a bit of a a bit of a demo, basically. It was not something that, for the most part, you could say, okay, this is a finished product that I'm happy to release. And now you can even do that. What do I pay for DistroKid? 20 quid a year, and all my music is all across all the usual platforms where people buy music: Amazon, Google Play, Apple Music, Spotify, all the usual places. I earn nothing from it, it has to be said, and we're going to come to that point in a moment. But it gets my music out there, and you can be a recording artist, and maybe something that you record will just touch a nerve, go viral, and you are perhaps on the road to superstardom. I'll let you know if that ever happens to me. But you can create for not very much money at all, because I did a video about this ages ago called "A Golden Age of Home Recording." You can produce professional quality results in a way that once upon a time you would have had to have had the resources of a big name record label behind you. You don't need that anymore. What's not to love? Next.
It's never been easier to learn anything.
Now, this one can be a little bit of a double-edged sword. The amount of information that is out there on this thing called the internet, it can be like, standing in front of a fire hose. But if you're disciplined and focused, and you stay kind of on track, and you think, okay, I'm going to learn about this particular topic. It might be anything from basic strumming technique through to advanced jazz scales, the modes of the melodic minor scale or something like that. There is all the information out there, and in a plethora of sources. My experience as a teacher is that I will sometimes have to cover the same topic in different ways, just to find the way in that works for that particular student, just to find the right hook to hang it on. And there are an infinite number of ways that any topic, modes, the caged system, anything that you're interested in, will be taught, and one of them will be the right one for you. Going back to the olden days, the dark ages of the late 70s and early 80s, there were things called guitar magazines, and they came out once a month, and they were, for where I lived, each month it was 2 bus rides to get to the big news agents in town, where I could, W.H. Smith, where I could buy, Guitar Player or something like that. And and if you missed the bus, or the bus was late, or you missed a connection, it was easily half a day expedition to go and get a guitar magazine. Well, and it's all that information and more is available at the click of a mouse these days. Again, I fail to see what's not to love. Next.
You can listen to any music you want for free.
Yeah, as I said, I earn next to nothing from the music that I've got, out there on various music retail platforms and streaming platforms. And I went into it with my eyes open. I never thought that, okay, I'm going to have be collecting a Brit Award, or having like a gold disc kind of hanging on the back wall there behind me. It was just, I wanted to write and record the music to get it out of my system and put it out there. And if people like it, well, that's all for the good. So how am I making a living in music then? Well, we're going to talk about that in the next point. But it's just absolutely fantastic that music, I think, is free these days. I don't for a split second think that it devalues the music. Yeah, I've got rose-tinted, happy, nostalgic, misty-eyed memories of, the bus ride into town to get the new album by your favourite artist or band, and then that sense of excitement on the way home as you're reading the album sleeve on the bus, and all that kind of thing. Yeah, it was a simpler, more innocent time, and I look back on it with fondness. But I love the fact that now, if I think, someone's got a new album out, I'm going to go and check that out, and tippity tip, on Spotify, and I can be listening to the album 5 minutes after I've heard that album is out. And if it's great music, it doesn't make it any less special than it did when I had to, as I say, save up my Saturday job money and get on a bus into town to go and buy a new album. For me, I am something of a purist in this score. If the music is good and creates the emotional response with me, then it's of equal value. There are bands that I'm getting into now that I did a video a few weeks ago about, bands that I've just discovered that are, if you're into kind of classic rock and blues rock sort of thing, bands like King and what they call Bad Touch and a bunch of bands like that. And that music is as enticing and engaging and as special to me as when I first heard, Black Rose by Thin Lizzy back in the early 80s. So there you go. I love the fact that music is free. And another thing is that because your music, like recorded music, is now a free commodity to all intents and purposes, it means that we'll never get another Milli Vanilli. Bands and artists have to get out there and tread the boards and perform live in front of audiences. And if you can't cut it doing that, then you don't have a career in the music industry in the way that someone that would lip sync back in the 70s or 80s could sort of get away with it until they were exposed, basically. So again, that for me is an unadulterated positive. No more Milli Vanilli. What's not to love? Next.
It's never been easier to play guitar for a living.
It has never been more likely that you will succeed from making a career out of playing your musical instrument, your guitar. It's never been more likely than it is now. Go back 40 years to the 80s, or even 30 years to the 90s, or even 25 years to the turn of the century. The idea that you could become a professional musician wasn't far off the same likelihood as you could become a professional sportsman, But now the odds have shortened considerably because of platforms like this, where we can, present our thoughts like I'm doing now, or our music or tuition or whatever it is that you do with a guitar. And there's still a fair amount of luck involved, but it's, as I say, the odds have shortened considerably that you can make a living at it compared to, a generation ago. No one really truly understands what it is that makes the algorithms tick, the things that the probably artificial intelligence, isn't it, that kind of will or won't put you to the top of the pile of suggestions for people to watch. But I just take the view that, throw enough darts and one of them will land in the bullseye. And it took me 10 years to get monetized, but I just kept plugging away at it because I enjoyed it. And now it's let's say it's a significant part of the household budget every month, doing this, and then doing the lessons and publishing royalties and stuff that I get. I'm making a living out of playing the guitar in a way that probably, as I say, a generation ago that simply wouldn't have been possible. So there you go, folks. Those are the 5 reasons why I think it's far better to be a guitarist in 2024 than it was in, let's say, 1984. I hope you've enjoyed this little bunch of opinions, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it? Can you hear your Dougal in the background? But that's it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. We drink beer and talk about music and guitars and many other things. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.